Hi y'all, thanks for tuning in today. We are excited to bring you a YouTube special video about what happens when you're hurt. I think that's a topic that we can all relate to. I think it's something that no matter who you are, where you are in life, everybody's been hurt. And sometimes, you know, it comes from people you know, sometimes it comes from people you don't know, sometimes it's something that has no truth to it, sometimes there's a little truth to it. Just a little bit. And it's hard to swallow, but I think that there are steps that can be taken. We get a lot of questions about, you know, what do I do when XYZ happens? And this is a common question we get.
Yeah, what do you do when somebody hits you or says something against you or does something against you? Well, the first thing you need to recognize is it hurts to get hurt. I mean, that sounds redundant, you know, but it does hurt to get hurt. And you hurt for a while.
And that's
but
okay.
The first thing that I do that I think is critically important, Jordan, is I have to forgive that person who harmed me. Now, maybe they harm me in, you know, half a dozen different ways, but I have to forgive them. I have to let them go. Because if I don't, if I harbor that, it just destroys me. It doesn't do any damage to them, but it hurts me. So you've got to forgive. And Jesus said, if you don't forgive, then neither will I forgive you. So forgiveness is very, very important.
How do you forgive someone when they've done something that you didn't deserve?
Well, it's happened to me many times. I have forgiven lots of people who don't deserve forgiveness. But we didn't deserve forgiveness either, but Jesus took our sin and shame on the cross and forgave us. So if he can do that, then I can forgive someone who's harmed me. Now, after I've forgiven them, the next thing I do is I have a little self-examination, and I ask myself the question, is there anything in what they said or did that's right, that's truthful?
That they had a point, yeah.
Yeah, well, if there is, then I have to be honest enough with myself to say, okay, if some of what they're saying is true, then I've got to make some changes. They can't make the change for me. And even though they may have pointed it out in a wrong way, nevertheless, if I find that there's some truth to what they're saying, then I've got to make changes on the inside of me.
Right. Is that something that you then tell them that they had a point or they were right?
Well, sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. You know, a lot of times you can go back to the person and say, part of what you said wasn't true, but this was true, and I'm making adjustments. I'm making changes. Now, there's something else beyond that I learned from my father. My father said, if there's no truth to anything that they say, then you have to discard it. You have to let it go.
Right.
And that goes back to the forgiveness. Because if you don't, you'll build a grudge in your heart. And Jordan, if you build a grudge in your heart, then you're going to hate them, you know, next thing you know, and you're going to be bitter toward them, and you're going to want to get even with them, and nothing good can come out of that.
No, and forgiveness will. Mama always says unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I mean, it doesn't work like that. You have to forgive and you have to let things go even when they maybe don't deserve it or they were totally wrong or whatever may have happened. You may have just been minding your own business and someone viciously attacks you for whatever reason, but you gotta let it go. It's easier said than done.
Well, somebody might say, well, what if this person has harmed me over and over and over and over again? What they've said, what they've done, just over and over. Well, it reminds me of the story of Peter in the Bible. Peter came to Jesus one day and said, how many times must I forgive? 7? Now, the Bible doesn't say this, but in my imagination, I can just see somebody has offended Peter over and over and over and over again, just kept after him until, you know, Peter just wants to just... You know, he just wants to and he says, Jesus, how many times must I forgive? 7? As if the guy has already, this is the 7th time,
right.
And now it's the 8th time, and he's ready to just wham. And Jesus says, no, Peter, 70 times 7. Or in other words, live in a state of forgiveness. Now, it's easier said than done. I know I've been hurt many, many times in my life. I've had lots of things said, and not privately. I've had things said publicly about me that weren't true. It just cut me to my core, Jordan, and I had to learn how to forgive, and I had to learn how to let it go. Jesus said 70 times 7, or in other words, live in a state of forgiveness. And I really think that's one of the real keys to my health and my longevity. You know, I'm going to be 70 years old soon, and I'm in health. I'm strong. I'm able to do what God called me to do, and I think part of it is because I live in forgiveness and I don't hold grudges.
Is it okay if there is someone who says something to you about you that is wrong, and you talk to them and you say, hey, that's not really the case. I don't know what you're talking about, and they just won't let it go.
Sure.
Is it okay to remove someone from your life if the situation warrants it?
Well, of course it is. You're not required to be with certain people. You can eliminate them from certain areas of your life. Now, it may be a situation at work where you cannot.
Right.
You cannot remove
Or
the
a
person. It
family
may be
member
something
or
else.
something.
It could be a family member or something like that. But certainly you can take a step away.
And that's okay. And,
Well,
and God's not going to be mad at me for doing that.
As long as you forgive them.
Okay.
As long as you let them go, And the letting them go is important. Discarding it and letting it go is critical, because if you don't, it gets inside your spirit and it will do destruction against you. It won't hurt them. It will just hurt you. Now, you said what Lindsay says a lot. Drinking, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Entire life
It
she
just
said that over
destroys
and
you. So it's the truth.
It is the truth, though.
You have to let it go. And even if the person is totally unrepentant, and even if what they say is totally wrong, you still have to forgive them. Now, it's not a question of forgiving what they did. It's a question of forgiving them. I remember your mother once said, Richard, draw a line down the center of the paper, put the person's name on one side and what they did on the other side. She said, then forgive what's on one side of the paper and tear it apart. You're forgiving the person.
Yeah. You don't make, it's not okay what they did.
Or making allowances or excuses for what they did. What they did, what they said was wrong.
Right.
But forgive the person.
Them. Right.
That's critical.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know about for everybody, but for me, sometimes I can't on the spot when I'm still hurt forgive someone. I make an effort in my heart to say, Lord, I'm going to forgive them even though I don't want to, even though
sure.
I'm still upset right now, but I'm making a mental decision to forgive them, even if in my heart I'm not quite there. But as I continue to say, I forgive them, I pray for them, even though I sometimes don't want to, but doing that will get the step until you get to the point where you really are free from that. And once you've forgiven them, it's freedom for you.
Well, let's take it a step further. Let's just say that you've said the wrong word. There have been times when I've said the wrong word and I've hurt people. I've hurt members of my family. I've hurt others because of actions that I shouldn't have taken and things that I shouldn't have said. Maybe I got a little steamed, I got a little angry, and I said something that I shouldn't have said. Well, in my case, God always shoots an arrow of conviction in my heart, and when I realize that I've been wrong, I've got to go to that person, and I've got to say, look, I did something or I said something that was wrong, and I am sorry, and I ask you to forgive me for what I have done. There's nothing that beats a good old-fashioned apology. A heartfelt apology.
What if you do that and the person decides not to forgive you?
That's not your responsibility.
So you've done your part. Once you do your part, you're done. Because there are times in life that I know I've done things wrong and I've asked for forgiveness, and some people just like holding on to grudges and just don't want to forgive you.
Jordan, years ago, I was playing golf one day, and there was a twosome in front of us, a man and his wife. And I was waiting for them to get off the green so I could hit my next shot. And they finished anybody who knows golf knows what I'm talking about. They finished putting out and they put the flag back in the hole and they went to get in their golf cart and go to the next hole. So I hit my shot. When I looked up, much to my amazement, the woman was back on the green again. Apparently she had left a club on the green. But she had gotten in the cart and was driving away. Now she's on the green and I hit a ball, landed right by her. Oh, I jumped in the golf cart as fast as I could to go up to apologize to her. She chewed me out, upside one side and down the other. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I saw you get in the cart. Oh, you should have. Well, okay, it's my mistake. Nevertheless,
it was an accident.
And you know what? For the next 10 years, she wouldn't speak to me. She would not let it go. And I apologized over and over. Every time I saw her, she just turned her nose up. Sometimes you can't control a person like that, but you can do the asking and repenting and asking for forgiveness.
And if you do that, God is forgiving of you, no matter what happens.
You're not responsible for what they do. You're responsible for what you do.
It's interesting. I think that, I mean, that's a crazy story. I don't know how I've never heard that one. In all the years I've heard stories
I don't think I've ever told it publicly before.
Story has
but
evaded
it's truth.
this. I mean, I could see being unhappy about a ball flying at you, but it's an accident. Accidents happen in life. you know. And that one's kind of an insane story, but accidents do happen. I think 10 years is a long time to hold on to a grudge. I don't know. But I think this is relatable to anybody who has been hurt or done the hurting, because sometimes when someone doesn't forgive you, at least I know for myself, it's not easy for me to let that go. When I've done something and I try to make it right and the other person won't have it, it weighs on me a little bit.
You have to give it to God.
I know, and eventually I get there, but for a while it does eat at me.
Well,
kind of the same way unforgiveness does.
It's because you're a human being, and the Bible says we have this treasure in earthen vessels. We're human beings and we have emotions. And sometimes our emotions get the best of us. And sometimes when a person hurts us or when we have hurt someone and we ask for forgiveness and they won't respond, that hurts in itself.
It does.
Because you want to make it right. And that's one thing about me. Your mother will say this, your mother will tell you this, that when I realize that I've done something wrong, I can't wait to go to the person and ask for forgiveness and do my best to make it right.
Mm-hmm. That's a personality trait that not everyone shares.
Well, I think it's one of the secrets of my success, is that I've learned how to forgive and I've learned how to let go and have a self-examination. See if there's anything in it that's truthful. And if it is, then I need to make some adjustments in my life.
Letting it go.
And then let it go.
And let it go. That's the last little bit, is just let it go. Well, I hope that this has been helpful for you, or a situation that you or maybe someone else has been facing. If this is something that maybe isn't for you today, but you know someone, send this video to them. Share this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can send these to anybody, friends, family, loved ones, not so loved ones, whoever they may be, that this might be helpful for.
You used to say unsaved loved ones and unloved saved ones.
Yes, you did. You used to say that all the time. It happens on occasion. Let them go, give them to God, pray for them, and you've done your part. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss any of these videos coming your way. Thank you for watching us on YouTube. As always, you can find additional teaching and resources from Richard and Lindsay Roberts and request prayer at oralroberts.com, or call the prayer group at 918-495-7777. We believe God wants you healed and whole in all areas of your life.